Good morning, class. Today we will be discussing special corporations. So for our subject, Law 6149 or Law on Business Organizations. So for this particular session, we will be discussing, as I mentioned, special corporations. For our session objectives, at the end of this session, the student or you will be able to, number one, identify the special corporations under the Corporation Code. Secondly, you will be able to discuss the rules applicable on educational corporations. And lastly, you will be able to discuss the rules applicable on religious corporations. To start with, let us see an overview of the special corporations. So you will see that Title 13 included in the Batas Pambansa 68, which is the Corporation Code of the Philippines. We have this provision for special corporations. Particularly, Chapter 1 is on educational corporations. Chapter 2 on religious corporations. So basically, ang ating special corporations ay under Batas Pambansa 68 or the Corporation Code of the Philippines. And under the special corporations, Title 13, we have two chapters. One delves with educational corporation, and the second one, Chapter 2, delves with religious corporations. So basically, there are two types of special corporations, which is the educational corporation and religious corporation. Now, let us first discuss about educational corporations. It says here, an educational corporation is a stock or non-stock corporation organized to provide facilities for teaching or instruction. Okay? So ito daw ay pwedeng stock or non-stock corporation. Bakit siya inorganize? Ang objective niya is to provide facilities for teaching or instruction. So such corporation normally maintains a regular faculty, curriculum, students, at a place where educational activities are regularly carried on. So ibig sabihin, doon sa ating venue, kailangan meron tayong place where we have our teaching or instruction. Meron tayong mini-maintain na faculty or teachers. Curriculum, ano ba yung pag-aaralan? Siyempre, mga students. Sinasabi din ng ating corporation code na at least 60% of the authorized capital stock of educational corporations must be owned by Filipino citizens. Ibig sabihin pala ito, pwede palang foreigners or alien ay maging stockholders or may pagmamay-ari din ng isang educational corporation. So, ng isang stock corporation, pwedeng 40% ang pagmamay-ari ng alien. However, sabi dito, control and administration of educational institutions must be vested exclusively on Filipino citizens. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Yung administration and control. So, Pilipino pa rin dapat ang namamahala at nagko-control, nagde-decide kung paano patakbuhin ang isang educational institution. So no alien may be elected as a member of the board of director nor appointed as principal or officer. So ibig sabihin nito, pwede kang magmay-ari. You own stocks, pero hindi ka pwedeng maging member of the board. Hindi ka rin pwedeng maging principal, officer, maging dean, maging chancellor, or whatever position, officership position. Aliens are only allowed to own corporations, to own stocks, pero they should have nothing to do with the administration, control by being principal or any other officer. Is that clear? Let us move on. Before we continue, also, let us first understand what is the education system in the Philippines. As you can see in the table presented, the education system is divided into three. First is the basic education, which is also known as the K-12. Secondly, vocational education, or next, tertiary education. So, ang basic education is subdivided into three. We have the elementary, which comprises kindergarten to grade 6. So, lahat tayo nagdaan dyan sa elementary. Junior high. So, yung grade 7 to grade 10 nyo, ang tawag doon, junior high. Or sa ibang masa, middle school. At itong senior high, grades 11 at 12. Tawag sa Pilipinas, senior high. Pero sa ibang bansa, high school. Kasi meron silang middle school, meron silang high school. Sa atin, we call it junior high school, and senior high school. Some students do not proceed directly to undergraduate. Sometimes diploma courses. Ito yung mga skills-specific courses. For example, mekaniko, culinary, ano pa ba yung mga nandito? Computer operations, yung troubleshooting, computer repair, housekeeping, kung gusto mga ibang bansa, housekeeping, kung magiging welder, pang ibang bansa. Lahat ito yung skills specific. At kung hindi naman after senior, yung iba, karamihan dumidiretso sa tertiary education. Ang tertiary, we call it undergraduate at graduate. So, ang undergraduate, ito yung mga bachelor's degree. So, ang ating, sometimes there is a misconception na, nasa graduate studies na ako. No. Undergraduate pa ang tawag sa college. So, bachelor's degree. Ito yung college natin. Any 4-year course, any 5-year course na mayroong Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, ayan, bachelor's degree. Pag sinabing graduate, ito yung master's tsaka doctorate degree. So, ang basic education ay under DepEd. So, the law is specifically mentions na ang governance of and monitoring of basic education ay sa DepEd, Department of Education. Ano yun? DepEd? Department of Education, DepEd. Pag vocational education naman, TESDA. Ano yung TESDA? Narinig nyo na to. Technical Education and Skills Development Authority. Yan, TESDA. Perhaps nung nag-high school kayo, nag-senior high, meron kayong mga subjects doon na kumuha kayo ng TESDA. Like yung bookkeeping, meron yung TESDA. Yung computer applications, meron yung sa TESDA. If you are majoring in, kung nandun kayo sa, anong track yun, yung cookery, yung mga ganyan, meron ding TESDA yan. So for tertiary education, it will be the Commission on Higher Education. So CHED. So that is the background of our education system sa Pilipinas. So basic ed, under ng DepEd, vocational education, under ng TESDA, at tertiary education, or university or college education, under ng CHED. So going back to educational corporations, it says here in section 106, educational corporations shall be governed by special laws and by the general provisions of the Corporation Code. So itong may gabay ang pag-establish ng educational corporations. So nobody can just create a school kasi we have to follow the law. So ito nga to, section 106, there is special laws governing educational corporations and basically all the general provisions of the Corporation Code. Prerequisites to incorporation. So section 107, ito, section 107 outlines the prerequisites Kung gusto nating magtayo ng isang educational corporation, education institution, kailangan may endorsement muna ng CHED, TESDA, or DepEd. So depende kung basic education ang gusto mong itayo, kailangan may approval ng DepEd. So it will still undergo inspections first, kung meron bang building, kompleto ba ang facilities, lighting, ventilation, ang teachers, yung curriculum, kailangan approve yan ng DepEd. Kung na mga diploma, 2-year course, kailangan ng TESDA. At kapag university or college, dapat approved and endorsed by CHED. Bago pa yung second prerequisite, incorporation, kailangan you must have submitted SEC application form by submitting also the articles of incorporation and bylaws. So dalawang, in any business, kailangan yan, articles of incorporation and bylaws. Kailangan para magkaroon ka ng SEC certificate. Ibig sabihin, you are already have a legal identity to conduct your business. So endorsement by the proper education authority and SEC certificate are the two basic prerequisites to incorporation. Is that clear?
Yes po.
So, moving on to Board of Trustees. Yan. So Board of Trustees. Trustees of educational institutions organized as non-stock corporations shall not be less than 5 nor more than 15, provided, however, that the number of trustees shall be in multiples of 5. So, pwede lang yung Board of Trustees, pwedeng 5, 10, 15. Ano ba itong Board of Trustees? Remember, we have owners or incorporators, or kapag stock corporation, stockholders. Kapag non-stock, ang tawag dito, may mga trustees. So ikaw ay you are entrusted to manage. So pwedeng ikaw mag-isa, pwedeng maramihan. Sorry, hindi ka pala pwedeng mag-isa. Kailangan 5, 10, 15. So ito yung mga may-ari. So ang procedure dito, you file for your articles of incorporation and bylaws. So kahit na non-stock yan, merong articles of incorporation listing the Board of Trustees. So yan, meron na kayong Board of Trustees. Tapos, for institutions organized as a stock corporation, the number and term of directors shall be governed by the provision on stock corporations. So let us differentiate. Kapag stock corporation, so meron yung common stock, preferred stock, meron stock issuance. So each incorporator can have 1 stock, 5 number of stocks, or 1,000 stocks. So depende. So yan, ang tawag doon, you will be elected, any stockholder can be elected as Board of Director. Yan. Ito namang trustees, doon sa mga incorporators din, na walang stock, so they have to include their names in the articles of incorporations as Board of Trustees. Now, so first type of special corporation is educational corporation, and the next one is religious corporations. Ano ba ito? Himayin naman natin ang religious corporations. A religious corporation has been defined as a corporation composed entirely of spiritual persons and which is erected, ito yung religious corporation, erected or established, number 1, for the furtherance of a religious. Ano ba yung sabihin ng furtherance? Para mapalawak ang relihiyon. So yung para mapalaganap ang religion. So that everyone could know that we have this religion. So mamaya, we will define a religion. It could be a sect, it could be a denomination, whatever. But for the meantime, religious corporations are established or instituted for the furtherance of religion. Secondly, for perpetuating the rights of the church. Meron bang rights ang church? Of course, the Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines basically states that there should be a separation of church and state, and the state cannot meddle with the works or any governance of any doings of the church. So basically, church has its own rights. So to perpetuate the rights. So para din mai-apply natin, ma-implement natin, masunod natin, at mag-follow tayo sa rights of the church. Kaya tayo nag-establish ng religious corporations. For the administration of church. Ano ba yung administration? So, para administration, para yung mag-govern, Tagalog nun? To govern, to administrate, to manage, ayan, all the affairs. So, administration, para siya patakbuhin, di ba? So, syempre, meron yung, sino magsasabi, kailan ba ang ating church meeting? Paano ba ang ating koleksyon, di ba? So, paano ba, may membership ba tayo? Yung ating membership ba, kailangan meron silang tithes or ikapo. Yan. So, administration of church, syempre meron mga buildings yan. Paano mo papakonstruct, papamaintain, papapinturahan mo, paano mo i-build yung iyong church. So, accounting, so yung mga ating mga functions din. So, administration of the church. So, yan. For religious work. So, syempre, kung meron tayong mga educational mission, medical mission, for example, ang religion natin, magpapatayo ng bukod sa simbahan, magpapatayo ng eskwelahan, or magpapatayo ng orphanage, or magpapatayo tayo ng whatever charity work. So, normally nakikita nyo in the Philippines, kapag merong school, na private school, yan naka-attach sa simbahan, especially for Catholic schools, no? So, let's say St. Joseph School, ay katabi niyan, St. Joseph Parish, di ba? So, kung naman ang mga Christian school, meron din yung mga, let's say, Baptist Church, blah, blah, blah. So, meron yung eskwelahan yan, the Baptist School Academy for blah, blah, blah. So, yaan yung ating mga purposes. And last but not the least, I for property. Remember, corporation has its own legal entity. So they can buy, they can sell, they can lease properties. So syempre, yung simbahan mo, yung lote niyan, kanino yan? So kailangan, kung gusto mong bumili, now, you will have a you have a legal entity and you have the right already to sue and be sued, to purchase and to sell properties. Yan yun. If you will notice, who are Iglesia ni Cristo members here. So if you will notice, kahit hindi pala kayo member, if you will notice sa Iglesia ni Cristo, they have good management of their property. Kita nyo ngayon, walang bakanting lote. Diba next week meron na nakatayong meron ng Iglesia ni Cristo na church. So because they have a smooth and good system of financial management and property management. They own the lots, they build the churches. Ayun. Kailangan religious corporation, kailangan meron silang SEC certificate. They should be registered in Philippine Appropriate Agency. Now, further to religious corporations, dalawang klase uli. Kung ang special corporation may dalawang klase, education at religious, sa religious corporations, we also have two classifications. Number one is a corporate sole, and the other one is religious societies. So, from the title itself, you will somehow get an idea kung ano ba ang difference. So, sa corporation sole, sinasabi lang dito, it is incorporated by a single person. So, pag under, kaya nga special corporation, especially religious, pwede palang isa lang ang mag-incorporate. Kunyari ako ay meron ako, gusto ko magtayo ng religion. So, pwede ako mag-apply sa sect. Diba? So, incorporated by a single person. On the other hand, kapag religious societies, incorporated by more persons. So, hindi lang siya isa. So, madami na siya. Kasi nga, society. Alam mang society, ikaw lang mag-isa. Hindi na society yon, di ba? Moving on. Corporation soul. Sabi rito, Section 108 and 109. Say natin. A corporation soul may be formed by the chief archbishop, bishop, priest, minister, rabbi, or other presiding elder of such religious denomination, sect, or church. For example, ano ba ito napapanood natin sa El Shaddai? Di ba? Si Brother, hindi ko na kilala. Pero si Pastor Kibuloy, kilala natin yan. Yung sa A to Z ngayon, si Pastor
Villanueva po.
yeah, so thank you very much. Si Pastor Villanueva, of course, they were able to establish corporation soul. So sila ang bahala sa administration, sa purchasing ng mga kanilang mga ari-arian. Meron pa pala si Brother Eli Soriano, di ba? So, meron din yan. If you are a priest, minister, rabbi, or other presiding elder, kasi normally sa iba, ang tawag elder. So, of such religious denomination, sect, or church. Number 2, for the purpose of administering and managing as trustee, kasi hindi pwede itong di ba? Hindi non-stop ito. Kaya trustee. As trustee, so for the purpose of administering and managing the affairs, property, and temporalities of any religious denomination, sect, or church. So ito yung another purpose for administering and managing the affairs, property, and temporalities of particular religious denomination, sect, or church. So kapag malakihan na yan, church na yan, o Church of the Living God, Church of the Latter Saints Day, Church of the Seventh-day Adventist, Church of the Risen Christ, yan. Kapag sekta, maliliit lang muna yan, sect, parang section. So sekta pa lang yan. Denomination, ibig sabihin ng denomination, let's say sa Christian denomination, meron siyang Baptist, may Adventist, meron lahat yung mga yun kasi Christian yan eh. In fact, sa Islam, if you are very familiar, they also have denominations. We have Sunni and Shia. So, if you will recall, di ba sa Iraq, sa Iran, sa Middle East, merong religious conflict between Shia and Sunni. So, may mga religious denominations there. Now, in order to become a corporation soul, the chief archbishop, the bishop, the priest, the minister, rabbi, or presiding elder of any religious denomination, sect, or church must file with the commission. Ano commission ito? Securities and Exchange Commission, the Articles of Incorporation. Katulad ng nasabi ko kanina sa introduction, they must have an Articles of Incorporation. Wherein, in the Articles of Incorporation, nakalista doon kung sino ba ang chief minister, chief priest, bishop, kung sino ang incorporator, kung sino ang nagmamay-ari ng corporation. So, ano ba ang laman? Ito na. Section 109 stipulates, outlines, enumerates kung ano ba ang nilalaman ng corporation soul, Articles of Incorporation. Una, it should set forth that the applicant, chief archbishop, ulit-ulit kasi ito bishop, priest, minister, rabbi, or presiding elder represents. So ikaw ay kumakatawan sa religious denomination, sa sekta na yon, or sa church na yon, which desires to become a corporation soul. Nandun yung intent mo. So you, being the, let's say, chief rabbi, intends to establish a religious sect, and you represent the secta or church or denomination. Secondly, the Articles of Incorporation shall set forth that the rules, regulations, and discipline of the religious denomination, sect, or church are consistent with becoming a corporation sole and do not forbid it. Remember that the establishment of a corporation sole under the Special Corporations title under the Corporation Code of the Philippines, it is governed by special rules. Kaya dapat sumasang-ayon at nagfa-follow tayo doon sa corporation code at hindi natin sinusuway. We do not forbid it. So, ano-ano ba ang rules, regulations, and disciplines na yon? Kailangan consistent nagfa-follow doon sa corporation sole. That such chief archbishop, bishop, priest, minister, rabbi, or presiding elder is in charge. So, una, you are representing. Now, you're saying that you are in charge with the administration, management of the temporalities and the management of the affairs, estate, and properties of the religious denomination, sect, or church within the territorial jurisdiction, so described succinctly in the Articles of Incorporation. So sa Articles of Incorporation, sinasabi mo saan ba ang location yan, juridical territory. Una-una, saan ba ang office nyo? Saan ba yung inyong church located? So, yan ba is Caloocan lang ba yan? Kamanaba? O Pasig area? NCR ba yan? Or Luzon? The entire Luzon? Visayas? It should be specifically mentioned in the Articles of Incorporation. The manner by which any vacancy occurring in the office of chief archbishop, bishop, priest, minister, rabbi, or presiding elder is required to be filled. Ibig sabihin, kapag merong namatay na yung chief minister, o kailangan merong vacancy, that there should be someone who fill up that vacancy. So, there is a requirement that somebody would fill in. According to the rules, regulations, or discipline of the religious denomination, sect, or church. Saan makikita ngayon itong rules, regulations, or discipline? Nandun sa letter B, di ba? That the rules, regulations, and etc. So the manner by which any vacancy occurring. Yan. Liwanag so far? And the place where the principal office of the corporation sole is to be established and located, which place must be within the territory of the Philippines. So, paano lang to? Kasi sa Corporation Code of the Philippines, pang Pilipinas lang. So, kung gusto mong magkaroon ng extension sa ibang bansa, it is, kumbaga, covered by the international law or the local laws of the place or the location where you intend to extend. So, itong letter E is also connected with the letter C. So, specifically, saan ba ang principal office? So, there should be a mailing address, there should be contact number. So, kilala kung sino yung taong responsible. Kung meron mang demanda, sino ang mananagot. Saan ipapadala ang subpoena? Ay doon sa principal office. Okay? Acquisition and alienation of property. Ibig sabihin lang ito, Section 111, a corporation so may purchase, pwedeng bumili and hold. So sila nagme-may-ari ng real estate and personal property. Pag sinabi real estate, ito yung lote. Yan lang, lote lang yan. Personal property, ito yung may mga properties na hindi siya real estate, na may value. For example, meron kayong mga paintings dyan ni Leonardo da Vinci, meron kayong yung altar nyo, adorned with gold, silver, yung mga accessories, yung mga whatever you have in the building, yan ang personal property. So, pwede ka mag-purchase, pwede mong i-maintain, i-hold. Yan. For his church, charitable, benevolent, or educational purposes, and may receive bequests or gifts. Pwede tayong tumanggap. Kaya nga merong, sa lahat naman ng simbahan, sa lahat ng church, merong abuloy, di ba? Sa Catholic Church, sa kalagitnaan, meron yung first, tawag nila ron, first collection, may second collection, may third collection pa nga, di ba? So, kasi, sinasabi ng batas, pwede kayong tumanggap ng bequests or gifts. O, di ba? Let's say sa Iglesia ni Cristo, they have the tithings. So, yung tithes na yon. Because the law allows them to do so. Such corporation may sell or mortgage real property held by it. So, pwede niya kung nabenta mo, pwede mong, nabili mo, pwede mong ibenta. Pwede mong i-mortgage. So, maglo-loan ka, mortgage mo yun. So, para hindi naman ikaw ang merong pagmamay-ari nun, but the religious denomination, sect, or church. So, filing of vacancies in case of death, resignation, transfer, or removal of the person in office, his successor replaces him and continues the corporation. So, para hindi tuloy-tuloy pa rin ang corporation. Kasi ang corporation, ang duration niya 50 years. Di ba? Renewable for another 25 or 50 years. So, matsugi man ang corporation sole, yung nagmamay-ari, or yung trustee, so meron kapalit. It says here, the property is not owned but is merely administered by the corporation sole, and ownership pertains to the church or congregation he represents. So hindi niya pwedeng angkinin yun. Ito ay nabili natin itong lupa na ito, nakapagpatay ng simbahan dahil na rin sa contribution ng members. Yan. So hindi ikaw personal na may-ari, but the church itself. Dissolution. Okay, let's stop the corporation. Tapusin natin. So, the corporation soul may be dissolved and its affairs settled voluntarily. So, at any time, sabi ng pastor, ayoko na, napapagod na ako. Tigilan natin ito. So, pwede naman pala yun. So, ano ang gagawin niya? Voluntarily, no? Affairs should be settled voluntarily by submitting to the commission. Again, kailangan niya mag-apply, mag-submit sa commission, sa anong commission? Security and Exchange Commission, a verified declaration of dissolution. Setting forth, kailangan ito, a declaration of dissolution, further verified. The name of the corporation, ano ba yan? So, let's say, Church of the blah, blah, blah. Yung name. Why? The reason for dissolution and winding up. The authorization for the dissolution of the corporation by the particular religious denomination, sect, or church. Remember, you as a trustee, you're only, kumbaga, in charge. Pero syempre, you have to seek also approval from your members. Syempre, yung contribution na naman nila bumuhay sa corporation, they want it to be continued. So, kailangan mo rin ng approval nun. So, you are authorized, sabihin na, okay, we're authorizing our chief pastor to dissolve the corporation. So, pwede naman yan. The names and addresses of the persons who are to supervise the winding up of the affairs of the corporation. So, once you have filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission, meron pa yung lead time to wind up the affairs. I-close ang books, kung may mga bayarin pa, mabayaran, etc., etc. Upon approval of such declaration of dissolution by the Commission, the corporation shall cease to carry on its operations except for the purpose of winding up its affairs. Now, Section 114 of the Special Corporations title, we have the religious societies. So, it defines what is a religious society. A religious society or religious order or diocese, synod, district organization is a religious organization of a religious denomination, sect, or church voted to be incorporated by at least 2/3 of its membership. Okay? So, a religious society daw ay isang religious order, diocese, synod, or district organization ng isang religious organization voted to be incorporated by at least 2/3 of its membership. So, siguro, kung marami muna kayo, 10, meron kayong group, religious group, may 10 members, 20 members. So, yan, okay, magkaroon tayo ng prayer meeting. So, syempre, hindi pa yon na consider as a religious societies. So, kunyari, marami-rami na kayo, pwede na kayo mag-apply for a religious society special corporation. And kapag nag-apply yun, dapat it should be voted by at least 2/3 of its membership. Iba yung majority, iba yung 2/3 ha. Ang majority is 50% plus 1. Pero ito sinasabi 2/3, meaning 66.6%. For the administration of its temporalities and for the management of its affairs, properties, and estate. So ito ang purpose. So at least 2/3 of its membership voted that the society should be incorporated for the purpose of administration of its temporalities or for the management of its affairs, properties, and estates. And the goal is to become a religious society. Now, you have, again, to submit. So in order to become a religious society, to be legal, lawful, to be able to have a legal identity, the articles of incorporation, again, verified by the affidavit of the presiding elder, secretary, or clerk, or other member of such religious society, or religious order, or diocese, synod, or district organization of the religious denomination, sect, or church must be filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Minsan talaga napakahirap magbasa ng law kasi paulit-ulit yung terms, di ba? Meron katulad nito, in order to become a religious society, the articles of incorporation verified by the affidavit of somebody. Of sino somebody? Talagang ina-outline nila because this is the law. So, affidavit of the presiding elder, the secretary, clerk, or other member of such religious society. Anong religious society? It could be a religious order, a diocese, a synod, or a district organization. Paulit-ulit. Of the anong religion? O hindi kahit anong mga religious denomination man yan, sekta, or church, simbahan. So paulit-ulit lang, hindi nyo napansin. Pag mula sa taas, ayan, religious order, diocese, sign, district organization, lahat inuulit for the purpose of emphasis and clarity because we're talking here of legal matters. So, yan. So, basically, ang konsepto lang, we have to submit articles of incorporation saan? Sa Commission, Securities and Exchange Commission. Clear? The core articles of incorporation shall set forth the following. So again, ina-outline. The law stipulates what should be included in the articles of incorporation. Number 1. So the articles of incorporation shall set forth that the religious society or religious order or diocese, synod, or district organization is a religious organization of a religious denomination, sect, or church. Ayan. So, if you're familiar, if you have been educated in a Catholic school, order of, let's say, order of friars, di ba? Order of St. Augustine or St. Augustine missionaries. Yan. St. Francis of Assisi's missionaries. So, kung mga madre yan, St. Vincent. Yan, mga Vincentian. St. Vincent. Kung nagbagyo kayo, anong order yun? Sa Pink Sisters. So, they are religious societies. So, kasi, yung kanilang church ay in-incorporate. So, hindi na siya pwedeng sabihin, business corporation. No. Ang tawag dyan, religious societies. O, di ba, malinaw, malinis, hindi magtayo ka ng reliyon, magiging mayaman ka kasi business. Although, maybe in reality, it happens, talagang yan ang pinakamagandang business. Magtayo ka ng religion. Naparami yumaman dyan. And hindi ko na sabihin kung sino-sino, pero nakikita naman natin. So, ayan. So, the Articles of Incorporation shall set forth that the religious society or ang tawag man doon ay religious order, diocese, synod, or district organization is a religious organization ng isang denomination, sekta, or church. Number two, sasabihin din sa Articles of Incorporation that at least 2/3 of its membership has given written consent. So hindi lang consent, written consent, or has voted to incorporate at a duly convened meeting of the body. So kailangan there is a proof na nagkaroon ng meeting or convention at ang isang agenda ron is to resolve or decide that the religious society be incorporated, applied legally sa SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission. It should be signed by 2/3 of its members. So kasama doon sa Articles of Incorporation ay list of members. And then, let's say, pwedeng minutes of meeting na, kasi meron naman doon na meron doon attendance. So sasabihin 23, blah, blah, blah. Therefore, the meeting was called to order, having a quorum, established a quorum, blah, blah, blah. Yun, kailangan yung proof na yon. Plus, yung attendance. Kaya kailangan may attendance sheet yan, parang sa estudyante. O pasa-pasa, may attendance sheet, pirma. If 2/3 of its members has voted as proof, merong written consent, yung kanilang pirma, di ba? Specifically stating, it is hereby resolved by majority, by 2/3 of the actual membership to incorporate the religious societies, etc., etc. Therefore, let it be resolved. Yan. So, ipapanotarize, and then yun ay isa sa mga attachments sa ating Articles of Incorporation. Third, that the incorporation of the religious society or religious order or diocese, synod, or district organization is not forbidden by competent authority or by the Constitution, rules, regulations, or discipline of the religious denomination, sect, or church of which it forms part. Yan. Sabi natin, for example, marami nangyayari ito sa mga Christian churches. So may turo ang pastor. May isang magaling na miyembro, di ba? Mali yan, pastor. Magtatayo na lang ako. Bubukod ako, magtatayo ako ng sarili. Kailangan siyempre yung pagiging incorporation, application for incorporation, dapat may basbas din yan. Pero siyempre, wala namang ikaw yung original mother church. Babasbasa mo ba yun? Hindi. Sa Iglesia ni Cristo, for example, ititiwalag ka. So, bahala ka kung anong gusto mong gawin sa doon. I don't know. It's just what I observed, no? I am not a member of INC, pero parang pag natiwalag ka, the church itself doesn't have anything to do with you anymore. Pero bago ka naman nila kasi itiwalag, syempre, pina-follow up niya, pupunta sa bahay mo, di ba? Yun ang kagandahan sa samahan naman ng iglesia. So, nabagyo kayo, pupunta sila, magdadala sila ng mga ayuda, pwedeng groceries, everything. They really care for their members. Ngayon, kung ikaw naman as member, hindi ka naman nag-participate, hindi ka nagko-contribute, wala ka, doon ka lang, piping saksi ka lang, hindi ka uma-attend, hindi ka basta yung mga duties mo and responsibilities, so hindi tiwalag ka. So, kunyari, itong isang example, si Eli Soriano, at saka merong dalawa yan, biglang nagtiwalag sila, dalawa eh. Hindi ko lang kung dati bang INC si Soriano or hindi ko alam. Basta, nagtayo siya ng sarili niya. Ano nga ba yon? Church of the... Ano nga ba ito? Basta, napapanood ko yan dati. Channel 23. Ewan ko kung meron pa siyang gano'n. So, nagtayo siya ng sarili niya. So, tumiwalag siya. Ayan. So, yun na yung sariling church. Or the Constitution itself forbid you. So, hindi pwedeng, although there is a separation of church and state, remember, hindi ka pa church, hindi ka pa religious society. Thus, you are governed by the Constitution, by the state. So anything in contrast, incongruent to the Constitution, rules, or regulations, hindi pwede. So, assuming malinis ang ating kamay So, ayan. We proceed. The Articles of Incorporation shall also set forth that the religious society, again, or religious order, or diocese, or synod, or district organization, so mahaba lang, pero it only talks of one, no? Desires to incorporate, ano naman purpose? Siyempre, for the purpose of administration of its affairs, properties, and estate. Kagaya din ng corporation. So merong pangalan, merong proof bakit mo i-establish na ikaw ay sinasabi mo na malinis at wala kang vina-violate. At number 4, you are establishing this for this purpose. Lahat kasi ng articles of incorporation, meron yung purpose of establishing. Tatay mo ng sarili mong business, anong purpose, anong business, di ba? Type of business. Ito ba yung merchandising, ito ba yung manufacturing, or whatever. But in this case, religious society, and what is the goal of your society? Ay, pahala na kayo. So, sabi dito, administration of its affairs, properties, and estate. Siyempre, katulad din sa corporation soul, and in any articles of incorporation, be it a corporation, articles of partnership, yan, kailangan to. The place within the Philippines where the principal office of the corporation is to be established and located. Ibig sabihin naman ito, identified, alam at kung saan hahabol ang mga complainants or kahit mismo ang commission ng Securities and Exchange Commission. Sino hahabulin natin? Saan natin hahabulin? Kasi doon sa Articles of Incorporation, which is, by the way, is also public. So it will become a public document. So anybody could inquire, sino po ba ang may-ari? Saan po ba ang kanyang office? Yan. Kasi kapag nag-change venue naman kayo, lumipat kayo, kailangan yan, i-update nyo yung inyong Articles of Incorporation. So, okay, maliwanag. The place within the Philippines where the principal office of the corporation is to be established and located. So, sabi nito, sa Philippines, within the Philippines ulit. So, panibagong diskusyon. Kung gusto mo sa Thailand, gusto mo mag-propagate ng religion mo sa Cambodia, sa Singapore, or sa Amerika, sa Europe, as long as itong special corporation code na ito ay sa Pilipinas lang. Yan, syempre, importante na naman yung trustees. Sino-sino ba ang mga board of trustees? Ano ba ang nationalities niyan? Kailangan Pilipino, di ba? And residence address. So, syempre, iba yung address ng religious society. Syempre, yung trustees, iba-iba rin lang dapat residential address ang ibibigay nila. So name, nationality, residence address. Kaya dito, ina-affix din yung community tax certificate, yung cedula. Kasama yan. Kasi kapag pinanotary nyo yan, ano-ano ba yung inyong community tax certificate? Proving that you really reside on a particular address, on a particular barangay, city or municipality, region, and para proof na talaga sa Pilipinas siya. So, names, nationalities, and residence address. Again, not less than 5 nor more than 15. Elected by the religious society or religious order or the diocese, synod, or district organization to serve for the first year or such other periods as may be prescribed by the laws of the religious society or religious order or of the diocese, synod, or district organization. Ibig sabihin, meron dyan, kasama dyan sa Articles of Incorporation, yung term of office. 1 taon yan. Sinasabi ng batas, kailangan yan 1 taon or such any other period as may be prescribed. O sabihin nyo 2 years, sabihin nyo 3 years, 5 years, as long as it is written, stated in the Articles of Incorporation. Para malinaw the Securities and Exchange Commission, ano ba yung corporation na ito? Kaya ng kumpleto. May pangalan, may address, sino-sino yung membro, sino-sino yung tutors na nag-ratify. Yan. Ano ba ang its purpose? Yan. Saan ba siya located? So, malinaw?
Yes po.
Okay. Now we move on to our review before we finally end our session. What are the special corporations under the corporation codes? Anyone?
Education and Religious Corporation.
Very good. Educational corporation at saka religious corporation.
Religious Corporation.
Very good. Let's see. Next. Ayan. Who can form a corporation sole? Sino ang pwedeng mag-apply para maging corporation sole?
Sir, yung mga church leaders, sir.
Yeah. Di ba pinaulit-ulit natin yan? Chanel,
Yes,
sino-sino yung mga yan? Sabi dito, Chief Archbishop, sino pa?
Chief Archbishop, Bishop, Priest, Minister,
Priest,
Diocese.
Minister, yes. Pastor, or
Pastors.
Elder. Very good. So kahit sino sa kanila, pwedeng magtayo ng corporation, pero ang classification ay corporation sole. Very good. Next question. How can a religious society be formed? Paano ba mag-establish ng religious society?
Sir, first, kailangan compose siya ng spiritual persons.
Correct? So kailangan voted by, with written consent. Kailangan may boto siya ng 2/3 of its members. Di ba sabi ko, kailangan may minutes of meeting, merong attendance and everything. Kasama siya sa ifa-file na articles of incorporation. So normally yun lang naman eh. Para sinabi, paano tayo mag-form? Ay bang mag-submit ka ng application sa Securities and Exchange Commission. So anong kailangan mo? Ayun, follow natin yung articles of incorporation. Ano ba yung mga kailangan doon? Yung pangalan, sino-sino yung Board of Trustees. Yun. Next question. Oh, nasagot ko na to. What documents must be filed? Anong tawag natin sa document na yon? Articles.
Corporation.
Yeah. Articles of
Articles
incorporation.
of
Yes.
Incorporation.
At saka bylaws. Yan. Articles of incorporation and bylaws. Kasi dito sa bylaws, doon naman na nakasaad yung mga rules, regulations, and yung ng religious denomination. Okay? Meron pa ba? Yan. How many trustees can a religious society include in its articles of incorporation? Ilan ang minimum?
15?
Maximum yon.
Ay, 5
Yes.
to 15.
5 to 15. Pero sa corporation sole, it should only be divisible by 5. So 5, 10, 15. Pero sa religious society, 5 to 15. Pwede yung 7, pwedeng 9, pwedeng 11. Last, what is the purpose of establishing a special corporation? Natatandaan niyo pa ba? Una, sabi natin para mapalawak ang
Religion, sir.
correct. To propagate the religion or the church. Number 2, para saan? Administer and manage what?
The church.
Correct, the church itself. Ano ron? Yung mga affairs, ano pa? Properties and estate.
Religious work.
Correct. So yun ang purpose of establishing a special corporation. So at saka, para magkaroon din siya ng kung ano-ano man yung charitable works, religious works, sabi ko yun, medical works, pwede rin magtayo ng sariling eskwelahan. Okay? I believe That's the end of our discussion for today under special corporations for the subject Law 6149, Law of Business Organizations. Do you have any more questions?
None.
Wala, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. And everyone, please keep safe. And thank you for attending this session.